Welcome back to Peacock TV. Spoilers, everyone. We have been tracking the absolute madness in Salem for weeks, but today we need to brace ourselves. Based on the July sweeps predictions spanning from June 25th to July 20th, we have a heartbreaking, devastating reality to face. Lexie Carver is highly likely to die this July. Grab your tissues, because this is heavy. Peacock TV, spoilers. We have been analyzing this storyline since E.J. DiMera first revealed that he had secretly resurrected his sister. But let's be real for a second. Did any of us actually believe that a DiMera resurrection was going to come without a massive, soul-crushing price tag? Absolutely not. The July sweeps spoilers are painting a very grim picture for the Carver family. The massive summer promo trailer just dropped a bombshell scene that has me completely reeling. We see Lexie Carver lying in a hospital bed, looking incredibly weak and fragile. Standing right by her side are Abe Carver and Theo Carver, both of them looking absolutely shattered. And then, in walks E.J. DiMera. And what does Abe Carver do? Abe Carver absolutely explodes. Abe Carver screams at E.J. DiMera to get out of the room. It is raw, it is visceral, and it is honestly one of the most heartbreaking things I have seen on this show in years. Let us do a deep dive analysis into this because the psychological layers here are just astounding. We have to look at the dark history of the DiMera family and their twisted obsession with playing God. This current plot twist with Lexie Carver reminds me so much of what Stefano DiMera used to do back in the day. Remember when Stefano DiMera would manipulate life and death just to keep his enemies on a leash? Stefano DiMera caused Lexie Carver's original death. Let us not forget the legacy lore here. Lexie Carver died years ago from a fatal brain tumor that was directly caused by the toxic fumes in the secret DiMera tunnels. The DiMera family literally killed her the first time. And now, E.J. DiMera, acting just like his arrogant father, decides to pull Lexie Carver out of the grave using Dr. Wilhelm Rolf's experimental Versavik serum. E.J. DiMera did not do this for Lexie Carver. Let us dig into the dark psychology of E.J. DiMera. E.J. DiMera has always lived in the massive, suffocating shadow of Stefano DiMera. Stefano DiMera was the ultimate master of resurrection. Stefano DiMera conquered death constantly. E.J. DiMera desperately needed to prove that he was just as powerful, just as godlike as his father. So he funded Dr. Wilhelm Rolf's twisted science project. E.J. DiMera used his own sister as a pawn in his psychological war to become the new true patriarch of the DiMera empire. It is sick, it is twisted, and it is exactly why I passionately despise E.J. DiMera's actions right now. He paraded Lexie Carver around Salem like a trophy of his own brilliance, completely ignoring the catastrophic risks. And I personally believe this is exactly why Abe Carver loses his mind in that hospital room. Abe Carver has already mourned his epic love. Abe Carver spent years putting his life back together, raising Theo Carver alone, and finally finding love again with Paulina Price. Then E.J. DiMera drops Lexie Carver back into their lives, completely upending Abe Carver's marriage to Paulina Price. Paulina Price literally moved out of her own home and sacrificed her marriage so that Abe Carver could be with Lexie Carver. And for what? So that Lexie Carver could die a second time? That is crazy. I am furiously passionate about this. I absolutely love Abe Carver, and I ruthlessly hate E.J. DiMera for putting this poor man through this agonizing torture all over again. E.J. DiMera is a selfish, egotistical monster for playing with human lives like this. But here's the kicker. The science is completely failing. We knew from the secret DiMera lab reports that the lab rats injected with the Versavix formula were suddenly dropping dead from total organ failure. Lexie Carver started showing those exact same terrifying neurological symptoms. Dr. Wilhelm Rolf, in his typical mad scientist panic, adjusted the formula and gave Lexie Carver a booster shot. E.J. DiMera was so smug, thinking the problem was solved. But the July sweeps confirm that Dr. Wilhelm Rolf's booster was nothing more than a temporary band-aid. Lexie Carver's health is going to take a massive, catastrophic nosedive. Nikki Crawford's phenomenal run as Lexie Carver appears to be coming to a very tragic, permanent end. Let us go back to that hospital scene in the summer promo because the body language is just incredible. Lexie Carver is hooked up to all these machines, her skin looking pale, the absolute picture of a failing miracle. Theo Carver is clutching her hand, looking like a terrified little boy all over again. And when E.J. DiMera steps into that room, Abe Carver's reaction is not just anger. It is pure, unadulterated hatred. Abe Carver knows that E.J. DiMera's hubris is the reason Lexie Carver is suffering this agonizing second death. Abe Carver yelling at E.J. DiMera to get out is the culmination of decades of Carver and DiMera animosity. It is a legacy moment that will go down in television history. Now it is time for the hot take section of today's video. If you ask me, bringing Lexie Carver back from the dead was a huge mistake by the writers. I know that sounds controversial, and I want you to debate me in the comments, but hear me out. Resurrecting a beloved legacy character only to kill them off a few months later is cruel to the fans and cruel to the characters. It completely invalidates the beautiful, tragic goodbye we got years ago. It turns Lexie Carver's legacy into a cheap science experiment just to give E.J. DiMera a storyline. It ruins the beautiful progress Abe Carver made with Paulina Price. I am furious that Theo Carver has to watch his mother die all over again. Theo Carver has been through enough trauma in his life. This entire Versavix storyline is just a vehicle for DiMera cruelty, and it makes me sick to my stomach. And we cannot ignore the absolute tragedy of Paulina Price in all of this. Paulina Price is a woman who fought tooth and nail to build a stable, loving life with Abe Carver. Paulina Price was celebrating her Juneteenth wedding anniversary with Abe Carver when this nightmare truly set in. Can you imagine the sheer agony of Paulina Price? She literally moved out of her own home. She stepped aside with grace and dignity so Abe Carver could reunite with Lexie Carver. Paulina Price sacrificed her own happiness because she thought Lexie Carver was a permanent miracle. But now Paulina Price is going to watch the man she loves be completely destroyed by grief for a second time. The trauma that E.J. DiMera has inflicted on Paulina Price is unforgivable. Let us pivot to some predictive lore, because we need to talk about what happens when Lexie Carver actually takes her final breath. Based on the show's internal logic and Dr. Wilhelm Rolf's absolute refusal to ever accept defeat, we can easily predict his next move. When Lexie Carver's organs start shutting down for good, Dr. Wilhelm Rolf is going to suggest freezing her. You know he will. Dr. Wilhelm Rolf loves his cryogenic chambers more than anything in the world. He will tell E.J. DiMera that they need to put Lexie Carver on ice in the DiMera secret facility until he can invent Super Serum 3. E.J. DiMera, being the desperate control freak that he is, will absolutely push for this. E.J. DiMera will want to freeze his sister rather than let her go. And you won't believe what happens next. I strongly believe that Lexie Carver is going to refuse. Lexie Carver is a doctor. Lexie Carver understands science. And more importantly, Lexie Carver understands the sanctity of life. Lexie Carver is not going to want to be a frozen popsicle in a DiMera basement, waiting for a mad scientist to experiment on her decades from now. Lexie Carver is going to look Abe Carver and Theo Carver in the eyes, and she is going to choose to die with dignity. She will forbid E.J. DiMera and Dr. Wilhelm Rolf from putting her in stasis. This is going to be the ultimate breaking point between E.J. DiMera and Abe Carver. E.J. DiMera will want to preserve the body, but Abe Carver will demand that his wife is laid to rest peacefully and permanently. The war between Abe Carver and E.J. DiMera is going to be explosive, and honestly, I hope Abe Carver completely destroys E.J. DiMera. Think about the emotional fallout for the rest of Salem. Paulina Price has been sitting on the sidelines, weeping on Marlena Evans's shoulder, watching her husband play house with his resurrected wife. When Lexie Carver dies, Abe Carver is not just going to bounce back into Paulina Price's arms. Abe Carver is going to be a broken, hollow shell of a man. The grief is going to consume him. And Theo Carver? Sweet, innocent Theo Carver, who just came back to Salem to help Johnny DiMera at DiMera Enterprises. Theo Carver is going to be completely shattered. The psychological damage inflicted on Theo Carver by E.J. DiMera's selfish actions will take years to heal. E.J. DiMera has essentially destroyed the Carver family from the inside out, all under the guise of a miracle. Amazing! The sheer audacity of the DiMera family never ceases to shock me, even after all these years. We are watching a slow-motion train wreck, and we cannot look away. The July sweeps are going to be an emotional bloodbath, and we are going to be right here, breaking down every single tear-jerking moment. We need to prepare ourselves to say a final, agonizing goodbye to Lexie Carver. So, I have to ask you guys, do you think Lexie Carver will actually agree to be frozen by Dr. Wilhelm Rolf, or will she force E.J. DiMera to let her die in peace? Drop your most passionate theories in the comments below, because I want to read every single one of them. And if you love diving deep into the psychology of Salem, you must hit that subscribe button right now. Subscribe to Peacock TV, spoilers, so you never miss an update. And I will see you all in the next video.